Welcome to another episode of Tea Time with Unfold. Today, my guest is Courtney, who is the creative director of illustration here at Unfold. Welcome, Courtney. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello everyone. Like she said, I'm the creative director of illustration here at Unfold. What else do you want to know?
Tell us a little bit about your background, how you got interested in illustration. When did you transition into digital illustration?
So I guess I've always kind of known I wanted to do something in art, like ever since I was little. I think there's a kindergarten paper somewhere that says like career day artist on it. So I've always kind of like doodled on the side and always knew I wanted to do something in art. But I started out in graphic design. I went to college for that and then started my career in that, kind of doing a little bit of everything, doing a little bit of brand, doing a little bit of web. And then I always kind of did a lot of digital art on the side. I would do a website at work and then go home and draw at home. And so I really wanted to, I kind of ended up focusing on that a lot in my free time and just ended up building up a portfolio side passion projects and things like that. And then I landed here at Unfold doing illustration full time, and here we are.
Yeah. Well, as a requirement of being a part of Tea Time, we are sipping on some tea this Friday afternoon. I got this cup specifically for today, which is a cute little, can you see? It is a cute little peacock. Once upon a time, I think in another life, I think I must have been a peacock. Just saying. But do not be fooled. I am
It's the purple coming out. That's where it's come from. Yeah.
Do not be fooled. I am drinking coffee.
I have some raspberry green tea, courtesy of a Crystal Light packet. So it's not boiled or anything. It's not official, but it's fine.
Nice. Well, I love it. I'm hearing a lot in, I believe, in the internal chat that our sound is a little funky. So this is the loudest that I can get our mics to go. I'm so sorry. As long as...
Do we need to make mine quieter? It sounds like yours is loud.
Doing great.
But it's to balance it out.
Don't fail me now, my very expensive mic. My mic needs to be louder. I don't know what to do. How about now? Can you guys hear me? This is the best that I can do. Well, good thing is you're going to be doing most of the talking. So let's jump into things. Tell us a little bit about what you're going to be working on today. I'm really excited because the Tea Time initiative, let me tell the audience a little bit about why we started Tea Time. You know, we're a small remote company, and we are very talented, and a lot of us are very interested in sharing our knowledge, and but we want to do it in a very casual and fun way. So we came up with Tea Time, which is basically at an hour where you're So this is an opportunity for us to talk about design news, maybe share our knowledge, invite guests over. All of that is going to be under the umbrella of Tea Time. And while we were thinking about doing that, we were thinking about branding. Obviously, branding is part of our design initiatives. And what comes with that is illustration. So Courtney led that initiative, and she's going to walk us today with the ideas and how she came up with the sticker pack. Go ahead, take it on.
Right. Yeah. So I guess the whole project kind of started out with the brand team looking at what they wanted Tea Time to feel like, kind of presenting a couple of different, we start with mood boards. I don't know if you want to pull up our Figma file. We can go ahead and jump in there.
Absolutely. Here we go.
Let me know when you're good. Yeah, cool.
Yep.
So our brand team is really awesome. They usually kind of kick off a lot of projects starting out, especially for client projects. Once we get to kind of know the client and their goals, this is where we usually end up starting, right? So we start with mood boards. Here is the one that the brand team put together for Tea Time. I think it's really fun to see where their heads are at, and it entails a lot of different things. So we can see like there's web, there's print products here, there's all kinds of stuff. So they really look at what the entire vibe of Tea Time could be. And so we started out, I say we, the brand team did a lot of this, but I'll jump into kind of the options that we started with. So they, on the left here, you know, they started with more of a simple direction, you know, just a couple different vibrant colors with some hand-drawn elements. And then over here, we got to a little bit closer to what you guys are probably used to seeing with the Tea Time images as they popped up while you were waiting and things like that. It got very vibrant. There's a lot going on. I think it's really fun to see. You can see the little descriptors that they used here to start off. So we've got lively, fresh, confident, and you can kind of see how that plays out in the inspiration that they pulled. So as illustration, for the illustration team, it's really exciting to come in here and work with our different teams. We treat illustration as kind of an extension of our branding. So we get to come in and work with web and product and brand to really extend what they've already created and work on what an illustration style could look like. So our challenge coming in here was looking at all the different options and how many different styles are in here already, and thinking about what we can pull out, what we can define, and what we can really hone in on for the illustration style for Tea Time. So this is the main mood board that they started out with. You can see we've already got different icon styles that they pulled in for examples. We've got some pixel style going in. So we knew this was going to be really fun just because of all the options and different directions we could go in.
Nice.
Just to scroll around here.
I'm just going to say, when I saw this mood board, I was mind blown because, you know, we wanted it to feel inspirational. and playful, and a lot of us are still in touch with our inner child, so I loved seeing a mood board that definitely portrays that. It's like professional but fun. It's
Absolutely.
very playful. It was a great representation of what it is that we were looking for tea time.
Yeah, and I think that's like what you like hit the nail on the head with the inner child thing, and especially like my personal style, that's where I end up a lot. And so we kind of extended after the brain team had landed on that mood board, we all kind of got together and discussed further specifically what illustration could look like. And so we pulled in more examples, and I think we kept coming back to like these stickers, and they're just so like fun and goofy. And I love how, they kind of look like something you would write in your notebook and just like scatter around, or like I've got a water bottle covered in stickers like this. And I love, like you said, kind of the balance of like still feeling professional, still feeling like we really took our time to illustrate these, but they're also still wacky and fun, and we can just kind of paste them wherever we want, as needed. So yeah, I think this is a really fun starting point to get to where we are now.
I love that. And I don't know how you don't get overwhelmed when
So
you see something
after
like that. Oh no, what happened?
Yeah, so I feel like, am I freezing?
No, maybe I'm delayed.
Do I just need to go slower? I won't move as much.
No, you're doing great. Can you hear me?
Are we having technical issues?
I think so, but I don't know how to fix it. So I'm just gonna let you talk.
Okay. I'll just keep talking. If I'm frozen, I'm sorry. If you miss a couple words, I'll try to go slow. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like, it can be overwhelming, I guess, but it's also a fun challenge to kind of take your favorite parts from these images and figure out like what we can pull out. So again, some of the things we really liked were the sticker aspect, just having stuff that we like. Basically, we wanted to make a bunch of doodles that we could use in different aspects of tea time. And then two, really loved these pops of colors. I loved the balance here of, it's hard to explain a little bit, but they have like this quality of still being really, really clean, but still having that like very personal aspect where it's like, it definitely looks like kind of hand drawn, but it's still like, again, it's got that clean outline. So it still has that really professional aspect. So those are kind of the main things we wanted to pull out. So after kind of glancing at this, analyzing what we really liked, our team went back and basically just I basically just get an iPad out and just doodle, like put on a podcast, just draw what comes to mind, and just don't totally worry about the style. I love the sketching phase because it is literally just me trying to get my ideas out on paper. There's like no rules. It's so much fun. So I really wanted to be the technical expert and figure out how to set my iPad up as a third screen, but I didn't do it. So I'm really sorry for everyone watching, but I just have my sketches dropped in here. So I'm going to scroll over to that. So basically, what I did was just, again, look at the mood board we had and then just like put brain to paper, kind of not think about it, just doodle what came to mind. So I knew going into this that Tea Time was going to have several different aspects. It's a streaming, educational video platform kind of thing. I knew that we were going to be talking to our different internal teams. So we've got product, we've got web. We knew we wanted to maybe have like a session for Q&A. So I wanted to be thinking about those and how we could represent those in a really fun way. So thinking about like, we've got this guy over here. That's a pencil, obviously, because, we're talking about drawing and illustration and things like that. We've also got a newspaper. We talked about maybe a news section. Obviously, we've got a guy streaming. We've got our professional microphones, or at least HebaH does. I just have a headset, but you get the idea.
I love your headset.
And then thank you. It's pink. It glows. I don't know if you guys can see it. It kind of blends in with my hair, but I love the vibe.
I think it's cool. It matches you very well.
Thank you. They have other ones too. They have like a neon green one. It came with white, but pink is obviously the way to go.
We need to do it like a desk tour, like an mini office desk tour. I think that would be really fun.
It would be so fun. I've got this like, I don't know, can you see my
Dude,
rainbow keyboard?
Okay, y'all need to follow Courtney on her social medias because I am in love with everything that she owns. Okay, I have one of those typewriter keyboards, which I love my clickety clacking. But she has like a show. I don't know if you have it in front of you, but do you have a cloud like
yes.
Oh my god,
it's a hand rest thing. It's a cloud. It's so cute.
Goodness. I loved it.
Yep. Yeah. It's so funny. My husband's desk is right there, and his is very like everything is black. He's got the like lit up keyboard too, and then mine is like a pastel nightmare. So
Nightmare.
It's
I
it's
think it
very
sounds like
fun.
a dream. A dream
It
to
is my
me.
dream. I love it. It's great. It makes me happy. But
Nice.
it's just funny. Very two different styles. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So let's get back
cool.
into it. So you start
Yeah.
sketching on your iPad, and then you take it from your
Yeah.
iPad and you transfer it into Figma.
Right. And this is like the phase. I mean, I always tell people like whatever's handy, whatever you're comfortable with, you can draw on a napkin and take a picture and drop it into Figma or any illustration product that you like. We're using Figma here. But yeah, this is like the super casual step where I just like really want to get creative, kind of let my ideas flow. I don't want to get too stuck on sketching either, because sometimes I feel like I can spend way too much time in this phase and then never move on, or, this is just to get my ideas out. I don't want to focus too much on getting like everything proportionally accurate. Again, just this is kind of my brainstorm phase. So yeah, if you guys like, if you have one that you want to see illustrated, post in the comments. Otherwise, I'm just gonna start going.
Yeah, let's give them a moment. Leave in the comment
Yeah.
which illustration you want Courtney to start working on. I think what would be most interesting, my favorite character, I can walk you through my favorite character on here. And I think my favorite character on here is that robot that's carrying the world in his hands.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he is, you can tell, like, she's like, oh
He's
my
sweating.
God, he is absolutely sweating. I love all of the facial features. All right, let's see. The chat says, let's do the muffin thumbs up. Oh my God. Can you please, before we even get started, can you share to...
I do. We need to explain that.
Can you please share the whole muffin story?
We need Andrea on here. But yeah, so every time a new person joins Unfold, we have this lovely, lovely icebreaker question for them. We like to do a lot of questions in our morning meetings just to like get everyone talking and get to know people better. But this one in particular has stuck around, and I don't know the origin of it, but it's great. So the question is, would you rather have muffin hands or corduroy skin? And there's always follow-up questions. The corduroy has to be burgundy, I think. The muffins are always the same flavor, but you can eat them and they grow back. I don't know. It's just a recurring thing. I don't know the origin of it, but here at Unfold, we talk about muffin hands. So
let's get the chat engaged. So would you rather have muffin hands or would you rather have corduroy skin, burgundy corduroy skin? Let us know.
What's your pick, Eb?
So I was lucky enough for that question to have been invented after I started working.
Well, now's your chance. You have to answer now.
You're going to put me on the spot. Okay.
I'm putting you on the spot.
So I guess my question is, would I still have fingers as muffins? That's an
No, I think it's muffins. Like you have like mittens. Yeah.
I'm going to have to go with the corduroy skin. I'm sorry. Yeah. I need to be able to function.
I feel like there are pros and cons to both. Cause I mean, handy like muffins all the time that you could eat. I mean, that's pretty nice. But then the corduroy is kind of icky a little bit. Like what happens? Do you have to throw yourself in the laundry? What do you do there?
That is true. I mean, the muffin hands, you would have food at hand at all times true. Because they regenerate. I can't say that word.
Generate. Yeah.
I'm just
okay. So the real question is, if it had to be muffin hands, what flavor would you pick?
Oh, muffins. I like. Oh! I know what it's called. It's like seeds.
Lemon poppy seed.
Yes, love it. That
was my pick too.
The texture is amazing. The flavor is amazing, and then even if you have like almond flavor in it too, oh my God, to die for. I feel
like it's a good mix because it's not like super sugary. I feel like I could eat that like for a while,
Yes, absolutely.
It's a good mix.
All right, let's get started. We're doing the muffins.
We're doing muffin hands. Okay, this is the one I hadn't actually fully illustrated, so let's go. So I'll walk you through. The first thing I usually do is kind of darken this so it's not super distracting because I don't want to get super locked into making this exactly, true to the sketch. I want to make sure that I can make edits as I go. So I'm going to start with the pen tool. I usually have a couple different like ways I tackle illustrations depending on how complex they are. This one's a little more organic. So I'm going to start with the pen tool and just kind of trace things. If it's a little more simple, I usually start with a shape and like to edit that, but I'll show you that kind of method in a second. So I'm just going to start by tracing this guy. And we're just going to go through and kind of get a rough outline. I know that after I trace this, I'm going to hide the sketch and it's going to look really funky, but we're going to edit it and clean it up. I just want to use this as my rough outline. So we're going to get the bite there.
And you're using
And
the pen
then
tool for this, right?
I am, yep. Yeah, so every time I'm just gonna drag.
That is everybody's favorite tool, right?
It's yeah, I mean, I won't speak for everyone, but it's my favorite tool. I know some, for other stuff, if I want it to look super sketchy, there's always the pencil tool too, but it's a little more, I like the control I get with the pen tool. I just feel like it's a little cleaner and it doesn't take me as long. Also, so this is kind of the other method I like to start with, is using a simple shape, and then just kind of editing it as needed. So I'm going to start with a rectangle here. I know that it kind of bends a little bit at the bottom. I think I want to give it kind of like a round bottom there. And then we can edit this as needed. Okay, so we're going to start with this. And bring that forward so we can see it. So this is kind of our rough shape. So now that I've got the shape outline, I'm going to pull it over here so I don't get distracted by that sketch anymore. And so the biggest thing for us, especially, once we figure out kind of a rough style, like I'll go back to these sketches so you can see, I've kind of landed on using big eyes. I haven't decided kind of the shape that I want them to be yet, but I want them to feel kind of cartoony, kind of fun. Everything's very like rounded and clean, and just again kind of keeping that doodle style. So then the next thing that I want to figure out as I go is kind of what the final style is going to look like. So we played around with a couple different options of doing like full color, doing kind of a black and white style. So what we landed on is kind of doing a mixture. I wanted to keep these as strokes, and thankfully the brand team provided us with a lovely color palette.
Love that.
So I can kind of start using that. It's so good. I love it makes me like, it just seems like candy. Like, does that make sense? It just seems like a candy wrapper.
I love it.
I love it. That pink especially. I'm a little biased, but that pink is so good.
Do me a favor.
So I want to start out by
a little bit to the right, just to stay away from the sketches, so it can be centered.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, you mean like over here?
Yes. Perfect. Yeah.
Is that what you want? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
If I need to lighten the background or anything, maybe so it's a little easier to see. I'm definitely a dark mode person, but I know it's probably hard to see.
Girl, I'm starting to buy into the whole dark mode thing. Still working.
Are you?
Yeah.
Are you still working on it? Are you a light mode person?
I am. I think I'm just used to it. Change is hard.
I go back and forth because I love sitting in like a very lit area, but I can't stare at like white all day, like on the screen. It hurts my eyes. I need to put my glasses on, but that would probably help.
I agree. I'm slowly getting
so I know that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
You're good.
Yeah. No, I want to do kind of a thicker outline because I think that'll really help us land on like that doodle sketch style. I'm going to keep saying that word over and over, doodle. But I want to do like a thick outline. I think that'll really help sell like the sticker idea. So I'm going to go back to our sketch and just make sure what other details I want to add. We want to add in some little sprinkles on top or whatever those are, and then maybe add a little bit of whatever, I'm losing words, the little cup paper thingy that they sit in. You know what I mean? Alrighty, and then I'm gonna try to figure out and decide what colors we want to use. If we want to do full color or if we want to keep this kind of the gray style that we went with. Okay, so anyway, so next this one's gonna be really simple, I think. I'm gonna steal the styling from this. We're gonna add some little sprinkles. I'm gonna make them scattered around a little bit, and I like to just add like a little bit of the subtle like imperfections, because again, I want this to feel like kind of hand drawn but also still purposeful, if that makes sense. So I don't want everything to just look perfect.
While you're doing that, I started a poll,
and then maybe
I started a poll in the chat for people to vote light mode or dark mode. So if you're in the chat or if you're watching, leave your vote and we can kind of talk about it afterwards. Let's see the biases.
And we'll tell you why you're wrong. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No
so
fighting
you create
today on the stream.
Imperfections. I'm seeing sprinkles. What's happening? Is this a muffin or a cupcake?
Yeah, no, I mean, well, I think, it depends on the kind of muffin we want to go with, because there's like, some of them have like nuts on top, and, I just want to add like a little bit of interest, a little bit of something.
Watch me
There's like
destroy
sprinkles or
everything with my critique.
yeah,
Positive.
Hiba, let me be creative. It's my creative freedom.
Positivity.
Okay, and then we want to add some, yeah. I'm gonna add in some little stripes to our little muffin holder, whatever this is called. Let's see. No, I think I want to match this angle. What is this angle? Something like that. Just, and then we're gonna duplicate and flip. Oh, that did not work. This isn't even on both sides. What am I doing? Oh, I'm using the wrong flip. That's why.
Nice.
Okay. So there we go. So now we get to decide. I feel like for tea time, we ended up doing kind of a black and white with like pops of color.
Mm-hmm.
So we could either do something like that, or we could just go rogue and do full color.
Yeah, how do you choose what colors work together? I know obviously like there's color theory, but how do you apply color theory into your illustrations? Because I struggle with that a lot.
Yeah, so I think there's kind of a, I mean, I feel like we cheated a little bit because the brain team already gave us this wonderful color palette. But there's kind of a balance of when I'm thinking about a color palette, like for example, getting to this point of thinking of everything within the same family. So a lot of times when we're starting an illustration brand or style and we're coming up with the color palette on our own, I usually like to start with kind of a rainbow. So like making something in the red family, a purple, a blue, and things like that. And then once we have that kind of set up, then you kind of want to tweak the hues and the tints. So for this one, they started out and kind of kept it with that, again, that candy feel. Like, for example, if we tweaked this and gave it like a little bit of yellow, it totally changes the entire vibe. And we'd have to tweak other things to make it match. But this one, it sticks a little bit more to the cooler side. Like this pink has a little bit more of a blue to it. Same thing with the green, it leans more blue, and so on and so on. So I feel like there's a bit of a balance. And you can see here that we don't have a full rainbow because it gets a little bit messy. So you kind of want to think limited, and then you can kind of grow it from there. So that's a little bit of the process that we go through.
Yeah.
If that all makes sense.
And then
so in our really illustrations,
what's really cool with illustration and the way you guys can combine colors, you don't have to be true to nature. So like a muffin doesn't need to be brown. Like I love
Let's
that
make it pink.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, and we can kind of mess with this as needed. We could, like you were saying, you can kind of break it. And because this is like a fun sticker style, like this can be, whatever we want it to be. And we can add in shadows if we want. Just for example, to show you what this could look like, I'm just going to kind of trace this very roughly.
Whole nother thing too, the shadows. So how do you apply shadows to the full shape?
Yeah.
Making sure that it feels
It kind of depends on how you want them to feel. Right. So I try to think of like, and I feel like this just gets better as you do it, because now I think as an illustrator you can kind of like see it in your mind, but sometimes my phone is full of just references of like me taking pictures of myself holding things. So I feel like honestly one of the best ways to get used to just applying lighting and shadows is to just stare at pictures, stare at other illustrations, study how lighting affects things, because again, this is a sticker, this style is not realistic at all, but we still want to think about it because otherwise your brain will know something's off. So for example, if I think the lighting is coming from this side, then I'm going to know that there is going to be a shadow, like this muffin is going to sit over this cup and it's going to cast a shadow.
That makes sense.
And depending on how we want it, like we could leave this a really heavy blocky shadow and have that like really flat dimension. We could also do something fun. Go ahead, you can interrupt me anytime.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's talk about a little bit of a controversial topic. How are we with layer naming and do you name your layers?
I've not done any of it so far. It honestly depends on the project. I'm not good at like, okay, I'll say this. I start naming layers when I get stressed out by my file. So like I am good about trying to keep things grouped, and I'll organize things like that. So for example, I'm going to group like the top of this muffin versus the bottom, just so I can easily be able to grab things and move them around by themselves. Um, it depends. It depends on the project, on how like crazy and hectic it is. If it's something that's like really simple, I'm not good about naming them. I might group this all together and name it like muffin, but I don't always name everything underneath it. But again, the bigger the project, I feel like my brain starts to feel the chaos, and I'm like, okay, I have to label things because I can't find anything.
Yeah.
So it depends.
I mean, you did kind of create a lot of assets for the Dronies project, and that must have been a hefty undertaking. So I'm pretty sure you had to follow some best practices. Yeah. So if you have,
we definitely did. Yeah. So for go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you have like a top, maybe 3 best practices as people are building, illustrations, digital illustrations, what would you recommend?
Oh, I might have to think about that one. I feel like there's a lot of like little things. I mean, I guess like I feel like one of the biggest things, and it's like a rule, but it can apply to a lot of things, is just consistency. So there's a lot of different, like I've already noticed myself kind of breaking some rules because I'm on a live stream. But like for example, we can see that this, I might have to zoom way in for you to be able to see it, but we can see this stroke.
Being on a live stream.
The more I talk, I'm just trying to forget where it's just me and you, Heba. We're just talking.
It's just us.
It's just us. We're good. So for example, this muffin top right here, it has the stroke on the center, and this one has it on the inside. So things like that might mess me up later, just because of like certain rules you create for yourself as you go on. So for example, like I know that if I had put this on the outside, then I know that all my strokes have to meet this inner line, but it breaks on this one. So there's a lot of like just little consistency things that are going to save you so much headache as you go on. So I feel like that applies to things like layering, naming your layers, grouping things. I feel like consistency in illustration is just a big thing, and you kind of want to set it up from the beginning.
You just opened up a whole can of worms for me, because I'm like, how do you make a decision on if you want the line to be inside, centered, or outside? That alone is going to drive me crazy. So we do have a question in the chat, and Jordan's asking, do you think about scalability with illustrations like this?
Yeah, that's a really big one, actually. So especially when you're thinking about stuff that has strokes on it, you always want to try, and it depends too on what the ask is, right? So when I'm making a sticker pack, whether that's for print or just for web, in this instance where we're putting it on YouTube streams and things like that, you want to think about, where is it going to be used in the end case? So for this example, we're going to be using it on YouTube. We have to think about what it looks like on a phone if someone's watching on a mobile device versus on their desktop. So that's one reason why we decided to go with something with thicker strokes. And I could even up these to be even bigger. But these look okay here. And then the more we zoom out, it's totally lost. Like you can't see any of the outlines. So that's one big thing that you want to think about when scaling illustrations, is where they're going to be used. Absolutely.
For people who are watching, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, because you never know, we might turn these into an actual sticker pack and give them away in future Tea Time episodes. So subscribe, click that subscribe button, and definitely share. If you've been watching till now, get on Twitter. I don't know if Twitter still exists, but let's share so that we can start doing more streams like this. And definitely, I think a sticker pack, my kid would love a sticker pack. He's already asked for a few. So
with a muffin hand.
Oh my God, yes, absolutely. And we can start.
I should have known. Yeah.
Okay, so now that you've kind of illustrated this and gave it depth of field, so you gave it some shadows, how do you set it up to be ready to be printed as a sticker, for example? Or what do you take into consideration if you want it to still look like a sticker digitally, kind of like how we're using it now?
Okay, yeah, so we'll say this is done. There's, we can change things later. But if I want to set it up kind of like we have for Tea Time, where we actually make it a sticker, it looks like it's actually pasted on something, the first thing I'm going to do is flatten everything. And so this is another time where consistency is key, because as I flatten things are going to break. So I'm going to make sure that everything is on that center line. I'm going to make sure that all of these strokes align, because I've already seen some little gaps here and there. Again, we're not going to worry about being perfect for this example, so don't at me if anything looks weird. But but I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to hit this and see what breaks. Okay, so we're actually okay. So I'm going to group everything. Everything is flattened right now. Thankfully in Figma, I can still go through and edit stuff because this program is wonderful. But I'm going to start by doing that.
Something? What did you click on to get there?
Sorry, I clicked the Pathfinder tool up here.
Okay.
This handy. Can you see my mouse?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. So grouped everything.
I promise.
You're good. No, you're good. I didn't say it, so it's fine. And I flattened everything with the join. Is that what it's called? Union. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I don't even know what the tool is called.
Words.
And then yeah, it's like when you click the icon every day. I don't know what it's called. I just like know it's the two squares. You know.
And then if you're doing shortcuts, you forget about it. I still don't know how to get to flip shortcuts.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Is it Shift H? Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Shift H, Shift V, something like that. Anyway.
Anything I need to find.
But so I want to make that little.
Oh Lord, it's okay. It's okay. We're doing great. I'm moving on.
No, you're good. You're good. Yep, it's fine. I'm sorry. I keep talking over. So I'm going to basically flatten this. I want to explain what I'm doing. I want to give that outline that a lot of stickers have. I don't think I have any around me, but they always have that little white outline if they're like those die cut stickers. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish, right? So I've grouped everything, and I'm going to go in and edit some stuff because I see it's not quite a perfect outline. We don't need those lines in there. So I just want to make sure and scan through and make sure everything looks okay. And then I'll send it to the back of this, and I want it to be really thick. So I'm going to up the stroke to a crazy amount. I really hate that this is gray. I'm going to make that white. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a nice shadow. And so I want to think about this as if it were kind of sticking off the page. I don't want it to be like right on top of something because it has this really flat shadow by default. So I'm going to blur that out nicely and maybe move it a little bit off to the side. I don't like the default black, so I'm going to add a little bit of blue to it.
Oh, wow.
And then that's kind of the basics. So if we wanted to go a little extra, we could even, if we wanted to make this look like it was like a real sticker, we could even do something like this and add a little bit of, let's turn this down. I want to add a little bit of shine to this, so it kind of looks like it has that sticker feel.
Oh, wow.
We could even make this like a gradient.
It's the little touches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so many little subtle things you can do just to add that little bit of sprinkle. See, full circle. And there you go. That's kind of it. And then,
so
like,
good.
For example, let me go grab.
We're sharing our secrets now.
So I'm gonna grab. Yeah, sorry. Is that our secrets? I figured that was live. But if I took this, maybe I'm gonna use your example, and then we can paste it on here. And look, we have a sticker pack.
Nice. Okay, so next question. Now that we've created an illustration, how do you create the other illustrations to kind of be cohesive within a pack? So what are some of the things that you kind of take into consideration when you're putting together like a little collection? Do they tell a story? Do you think about color palettes? Like what are some of the things?
Absolutely. So as I'm looking at I'll kind of use these sketches as an example. When I wanted to create these sketches and figure out what the concepts were, I wanted to think about them kind of as a series. So here they look a little inconsistent, but those are things we'll fix later on. So just to give you an example of like subject matter, I knew that there were a couple of subjects we wanted to cover. So for example, this robot I came to because I wanted to do something for the web team. So I thought maybe something holding a globe, they've kind of got the weight on their shoulders, right? With creating websites. I don't know. And then I knew I wanted to do something for just general interviewing. So we've got the microphone here for something for illustrating, et cetera, et cetera. So thinking about those in a series, I created, different subjects that would work for that. And then as I go on, I'm going to, take some of the rules we've already established. So for example, for this one, I've set this to, let's see, we've got this should be 6, but 6 width pixel for stroke. So we're going to take those rules we've kind of established, and these are things that you can adjust as you go. But taking the rules, we've got our color palette, the way we apply shadows, and applying those throughout the illustrations that you create will really make them feel consistent, even if it's just really subtle things like stroke weight, colors, lighting, and things like that. So I'll apply those to these other ones. So for example, some inconsistencies I already see, I mentioned earlier, the eye shapes. So like these guys are pretty close, but then we've got this one that's got kind of oval eyes. So when I'm sketching or when I'm vectorizing those are things I want to look for that I can tighten up, make them consistent across the board, and then they'll feel like they're really part of the same family, even though they're totally different. We've got a question mark with eyeballs and a pencil with eyeballs. So just like little subtle things like carrying across your styling rules that you create early on are really going to help your creations feel consistent, like they're part of the same family.
Personal question, Courtney. Would you consider this as your illustration style, or are you comfortable illustrating in different styles?
Yeah, so yes and no. I mean, as an illustrator, we are all comfortable with, illustrating in multiple styles. We kind of have to be for our clients because, every client is going to be different. You're going to always need to do something different for them. But as far as like my personal style, I feel like I have two different ones. I feel like I do this doodle style, very flat style a lot, but I also have another style where I really like to push myself and see like how much I can do in Figma. And so I try to recreate something like a 3D object and just like put as many gradients and shadows on it as I can. So I kind of have like two different styles I bounce between, but usually when it's just kind of a free for all, like draw a bunch of stuff, it ends up being kind of this doodle style. I think I drew something the other day and someone was like, I need this to look a little more grown up because I just love this doodle cartoon. I just like having fun with it. And again, the inner child thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. I'm going to ask people in the chat, feel free to ask any questions for Courtney as she's working. Would you guys like her to illustrate another character? Is there any questions about her career that you guys want to ask? Feel free to kind of leave comments in the chat. I also want to share. Let me say one more time. I just said the poll has ended, and we had 15 people who voted, and the majority, around 70%, like dark mode. So it sounds like it's trending. Ooh. And I need to get on board that trending.
On with it.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
I have my phone on auto, so like sometimes it's light mode, sometimes it's dark mode, but that's kind of my.
Does it do that based on like? Does it do that based on like the lighting you're in, or is it based on the app?
When I start working for Apple, I will let you know. I don't know.
Okay, I was just curious. Like, what does automatic mean? Okay.
Oh, I think it has to do, like you said, like I noticed dark mode happens a lot more at night, so I think it has to do with like vision and trying to protect your vision. But I still find myself automatically having to turn the yellow tint on so that my eyes are not fatigued.
Yeah, I was gonna say mine does the like night tint thing where everything turns orange at night, and I appreciate it, but it also kind of drives me crazy because I'm like everything's orange.
I agree 100%. Okay, so let's go ahead and illustrate another character, and I would love to see how you kind of make sure that they are part of the same family. Right. So let us, people in the chat, what would you like to be illustrated next? All right, leave your comments in the chat, and we will get meanwhile, we have a question. Mo's asking, how does someone who is terrible at sketching get started with digital art?
Yeah.
What is
so I will say that, yeah, so I hated sketching for a really long time because I never felt like I was good at it. For some reason, the pen tool really clicked with me because it's not, you're not drawing, like it's just anchor points, right? And you're just kind of pulling. And I felt like there was something more. So honestly, I feel like if you hate drawing and you want to get better at it, either practice sketching more, because doing something we hate is always, the more we do it, you're going to get better at it for sure. But also, like, if there's stuff you can trace, like even if it's a sketch that someone else has done or things like that, don't take credit for it. But if you just want to get used to the pen tool, I think like just tracing and learning how to make these shapes quicker. When I first started my career, it would take me a long time to use this. But the more you do it, the better it's going to feel, and it's going to become a lot more automatic of you knowing how far to like, it sounds simple and like, but just clicking and pulling it and being able to trace these shapes exactly. I feel like to be in digital art, you don't have to be a good sketcher. I feel like anyone can do it. You just have to it's just using the tools the way that they work for you.
Breaking down the shapes has always been the hardest for me. So why don't we take on a more complex character? So in my eyes, from what I'm seeing here from your sketches, the more complex character feels like the microphone dude. So because it feels like there's a lot of shapes that are going on top of each other, and I wouldn't even know where to start and how to create the different shapes, So maybe we can grab that one and kind of illustrate it. Yeah. If you don't mind breaking down the shapes as well, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm really glad you said that, because I feel like that's a really helpful method too when you're getting started in something like digital illustration, is to think about everything in really simple, like what is the simplest form of this shape, right? So just to show you that visually, this guy is a circle. I'm going to make this like red so you can see it really well. He is just built of really simple shapes, right? So he's a circle. Maybe he's not a perfect circle. We can just stretch him a little bit, right? And then we've got another circle, which is his headphones. And then, to make that a 3D shape, we're just going to go another circle. This is going to look really hectic, but I promise it'll make sense in a second. Again, circle. This is a half circle, this little hat here. So you can kind of see what I mean about like building up by really simple shapes, right?
Yeah.
So if I want to actually build this out a little bit more.
Though. Wow.
Here, I'll start over.
No. That was great. I'm just saying, like it looks so simple, and then once you start putting the shapes together, it feels complicated, but it's still simple, because I'm pretty sure you're gonna start to, merge shapes together.
Exactly.
Another English word that will not come out of my mouth. Exclude. Okay, you know what I'm trying to say.
I got you. Yeah. So that's basically, that's basically what we're going to do. I want to take, as I'm going, I'm taking the rough styling from this and just copying it over. Sorry, I've got the hiccups. This tea. No, I get the hiccups all the time. It's terrible. It's not fun. But I'm just going to keep copying the styling over from this. And so as I'm, extruding or, subtracting and things like that, I'm just going to, just so you can visually see what this looks like. I'm just taking these simple shapes and adjusting them ever so slightly. So you can see we've still got a circle. I just want to drag out these shapes so now we have like a headphone earpiece or whatever. And the easy thing is that I can just copy this over and use it for that. So now we have our headphones. This shape up here is going to be a little bit more complicated, but you can kind of see if you think about it, even if I'm not going to start with a rectangle, that's all it is. It's just a bent rectangle, right? So all I'm going to do is just draw a line up here, and I'm going to bend it. I'm going to drag it over. I'm going to come back down. You can figure out kind of, you can make it perfect later, but it's just kind of breaking down your subject into those really simple shapes. I'm going to turn the fill on there so you can see it. And then we can hide any imperfections behind our little headset right there. And so as I'm going, we can adjust little things, like if I want this to feel like it's arcing, it has like a little arch at the top, we can do that. Let's see, if we fill this guy's face in, we can do the eyes. I'm going to take the styling from that because it's already white. And we can move this over here. Now we get to decide if we want his eyeballs to stick off his head or if we want them to perfectly match. So it's something else we can think about in the styling. I think I have it cut off in his head over here. So go ahead and make his eyeballs.
It's interesting. Be really wide-eyed. You also like work in solid colors. I would have assumed you would have everything opaque just so you can see the sketch behind it.
Yeah, I kind of do a little mixture of both. I don't want to get too stuck on the sketch, so once I have an area kind of done, I like to fill it in and move on, because
Yeah.
otherwise we just have like a ton of like shapes and it gets a little overwhelming. So I don't want to get too stuck on anything like that. So it just kind of depends on the instance, and kind of what you're working
Nice.
with. If it's like super complicated and you need to see a lot of the background, we can always
Mm-hmm.
do that.
Nice.
But yeah. See, I'm gonna make
The
his nose
sketch would
pink
probably
because
be
I
my
think that's cute.
safety net, like, my little safety blanket.
Mhm.
Like,
And it can be, a lot of people, it depends. I know a lot of people who are really, really thorough in the sketch phase, and that totally works for some people. They're super thorough. So it's like the sketch is perfect and all they have to do is outline it. I am not as good at the sketching phase. I feel a lot more comfortable in the vector phase. So mine are not always like, you can see, like this guy's proportions are like pretty off. Like his legs are not gonna, once I vectorize that, that's not gonna look quite
mm-hmm.
right. So I'm gonna have to edit that, but it just gives me like the pose, and then I'm gonna move on and fix it in vector. So illustration's kind of interesting because it really is so different from everyone. I feel like everyone tackles it a little bit differently, but hopefully like the concepts I'm showing you kind of give you an idea for like where to start.
Mm-hmm.
Since this one's the microphone's a little bit taller, I'm going to start with a rectangle rather than a circle, just so I can get that elongated shape. I'm gonna see, add our stroke here. 6.
David,
We can mess around with these colors
one
later.
of the partners, is watching, and he says, "This is looking fire, Courtney."
Thanks. I'm not too worried about styling yet, so it will look cooler, I'm sure, if we were worried about that, but I just want to get the shapes done.
Mm-hmm.
So for the hat, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to use the portion of his head that's already existing. So I'm just going to draw, I want the bottom shape basically, and then I want the top to take the top curve of his head. So what I'm going to do is just make that shape, and then I'm going to steal these two basically. So I'm going to have them intersect. And then there we go. So we have that shape now.
Nice.
Yep, and we're going to take that styling. Let's make it blue for now. Again, not too worried about it. And this is like, I know it's totally going behind his eyes, but this again is a doodle and we don't have to worry about. He's kind of looks like a VeggieTale right now. Let's see what's next. I think I want to, and this is kind of the part where I start getting like, I'm covering up the sketch, but again, I'm getting close enough where I don't want to rely too heavily on the sketch because we've already adjusted some things where it doesn't quite match anymore. And so I'm just kind of ready to move on. So now I'm going to start just referencing it. I think I'm going to use the pen tool for this little shape because I don't want it to be too perfect, and our half circle isn't either. So let's see. I'm going to make this shape. I can tell the curve up there is a little off. So again, I'm just going to adjust it as I go. Make it a little more rounded. We'll cover it pink so it looks like it's coming through. And then we'll give them a little bit of that band.
Oh, wow. Wow. Oh, my goodness. that little piece right away just made it for me.
Yeah. So you can kind of see where it's going now.
Mm-hmm.
We'll give them those little, what are those called? Those little snaps.
Illusion.
Yeah. There you go. I think we just need one. I think that's fine. This top curve is a little tricky because I think I drew it too high. So I'm going to pull it down a little bit. And then we're just going to match it to his head. But again, see, it's not quite right. So these are all kind of things, again, that I just like to figure out in vector because I think it's a little faster to edit rather than getting too stuck editing and erasing. And, Procreate's fun, but I enjoy the pen tool more.
I think the pen tool, once you kind of, it's such a powerful. Ooh, did you guys hear that? I hope not.
No,
okay.
What happened?
Oh, I got my calendar notification. To-do-do.
Oh,
so I
nice.
I heard it in my head. Well, back to the pen tool. The pen tool is one of those tools that once you learn how to use it, it's kind of like a learning curve. Once you get past the learning phase, it becomes like a superpower that you have. So definitely, if you're working with the pen tool, Says the girl that used to use it once upon a time. I don't anymore, but yes, it definitely is a superpower once you know how to use it.
Yeah, for sure. And it always it gets easier, At first it is definitely a learning curve just because it's weird. You have to
Mm-hmm.
pull anchor points and it's just not, yeah, if you're not used to something like that, it's a very different way of drawing. But once you get used to it, it becomes really, really powerful.
Nice.
Sorry, I'm taking forever to adjust this, but the
Okay.
curve is a
I
little
love it.
funky, so I'm redrawing it.
I'm
Okay,
glad
that's a
because
little
people
closer
can
to what I want.
see, like people can see how much time and effort it takes to kind of
Yeah.
perfect an illustration.
Right. It's just all these little subtle things. Like I noticed it was kind of cut off and pointy up here, and I really want it to be like a smooth curve. Like thinking about my headphones, it's a smooth curve all the way around. So it's pretty close. It still might not be perfect, but it's close enough where I'm gonna move on and come back to it maybe. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna make sure there's like a shadow back here. Maybe I'll just leave it black. So that way
Yes.
we know that there's like a headset back there. And then for
Mm-hmm.
this little guy, we're just gonna wing it and we're gonna draw like a shape back here.
Nice.
Do something like that.
This character has personality for sure.
He does. So yeah, something like that. I think in my sketch it's a little bit more narrow at the top maybe. But I kind of like this shape. I think that's cool. Okay, and then we can worry about the microphone next. Did you have a question, sir?
No, I was going to say, Rob in the chat was saying that he always struggles with shading shadows. And Courtney will talk a little bit more about shading as well. But feel free to rewatch the session. We're going to have it live on our channel as a replay. And she talks about like her techniques of shadowing and how she practices learning where to place shadows by taking a lot of pictures of items and seeing, where the light hits them, where the shadow hits them. And then she also mentioned having a library of illustrations that already have shadows on them, so that your mind's eye already has kind of a library of where the shadows sit, so that when you're illustrating, it feels more intuitive.
Yeah, I think it really is. I mean, I know if you're going to like college for like fine arts and stuff, I took like a drawing class in my design program, but they always have you study like real life objects. You have to do a lot of still life drawing and things like that, and it is so helpful, even if, again, in a style like this that's really flat, to just think about where light is hitting, think about the scenery that you're working in. So like, especially if you're doing a full scene that does have a lot of lighting and a lot of glows and things like that. I did a drawing recently that had like a lot of candles, and thinking about like, okay, there's a light coming from the ceiling, but there's also a light in the corner that's shining on an arm. There's just a lot of like things where it's really helpful to think about it in a real life setting. So even if you just like got a cup out of your cabinet and put it on your table and put it next to a window and just saw how it casted light, then you can kind of use that as a reference for what it's going to look like in here. So for example, again, if I'm having the lighting coming from the top right corner, I'm going to probably have a shadow. Let's say the bottom of his chin is probably going to be in a shadow. And so just thinking about like organically how that would cast, it's probably going to hit under the headphones, because the headphones, this side of them is going to be towards the light. And so you kind of think about, this is a really dark shadow, but if we're doing something like that, then you would maybe have a shadow back here, because this is going to be totally behind the light, but maybe the end of his cap is kind of hitting as I'm gesturing.
Do you create your shadows with the color black, or do you use the dark
it depends. So for this style, we could, yeah, it depends. So for this style, we could do something like this because we're working in a really flat style. Other times, I think it's really fun to do something like using a color that's already in the palette. So see, we get like this really funky purple effect if we use this blue, and I think that could be really fun.
Yes.
So we might have to mimic it to work on the other colors. Like maybe I need to turn it, way down to a different type of blue. But I think it kind of depends on the style you want to work with. I feel like illustration is really fun because there's just a lot of experimentation. Sometimes I've definitely had instances where I did this by accident and I'm like, oh wait, that looks really cool, we're going to use it. So there's a lot of flexibility in illustration. This is one of the styles we pitched, actually, was having like this full color purple effect. And so it just depends on the style you want to go with. If you want it to feel a little bit more fluid, if you want it to feel more flat, we could even you could start getting really crazy and start adding like a gradient here if you wanted to. And then you could add on a heavy shadow that would
sounds like this
even add more to it. So there's just tons of
for another tea time, so we can have you on the stream again.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Let's do it. But yeah, so there's tons of flexibility.
All right, let's wrap up this illustration, and then I would love to get to know you a little bit more. So what's left is the microphone, and then you're going to also show again how you add that sticker kind of feel to it.
Oh, right? Yeah. Right. Yeah. So let me just we're just going to super real quick do this little stand here.
Rob,
I'm just
so
going to make for time's sake. Oh, no problem.
Yeah. Thanks for joining, Rob.
Yeah, we appreciate it. So just real quick, I'm just going to keep this black for now, just to save us a little bit of time. And let's just go ahead and make these shadows black just for consistency. Okay, so we're not too worried about the styling. We're just going to focus on getting the shape done, right? So let's drag this guy over here.
Oh my God, Court.
Again, I didn't group anything either. What?
Our inner chat are comparing the illustration with Bo. I totally see it.
It is Bo. That's awesome. Bo, I subconsciously drew you. That's awesome. That's so funny. Yes.
Bro
I love it.
Bo is another team member.
Bro.
I said bro. Oh my God.
He's another fantastic illustrator. You did say bro. It's okay.
I did.
Yes.
Bo is an excellent
Bo is another.
He actually created our illustration, our team illustrations for internal use, which is I love.
Drew everyone. It's so good.
He did.
Yeah, so basically I just did kind of the same method. I copied over the same shapes and I grouped them all together, and I kind of cheated because I just copied over the styling from our previous one, but now you can kind of see how they go together.
Nice. And then I think we're just going to edit the shadow and then we're good, right?
Yeah, I mean the shadow is on there. We can always move it around if we wanted to.
Oh, because that one's blue. Never mind.
If we wanted to have these. Yeah. Oh, yes. This shadow, you mean?
Yes,
yeah. We could just change that back. And
that is not called a shadow. It's like
Thanks for keeping me consistent, Heba.
Glimmer.
Yeah, you're good. No, you're good.
Nice.
Yep. And then we can do. There we go.
I love this. This is so good. Like, I would love to learn how to illustrate. I'm very intimidated. I actually went to university for graphic design, and I had to take drawing 1, drawing 2, so I had to do the solid objects, and I also had to do human anatomy. And I came out of those 2 classes, even though I did great in the courses, I do not know how to illustrate, like just from my mind. But I can definitely look at something and copy it. So
yeah,
that counts.
And honestly, that's a really good way to get started. Yeah, I mean, I think that helps you build out those skills of I feel like, they do a lot of reference shots so that you kind of start to ingrain in your brain how things are made and how things work and how muscles move. So I think that's a really good place to start to get into illustration, is just drawing what's around you. Again, just getting a feel for what things look like. It'll transfer really naturally once you get to drawing, digitally and all different types of work. So yeah.
This was great. If anybody has any questions for Courtney, please leave a message in the chat. And Courtney, I just have a couple more questions for you. I would love to learn a little bit more about your professional growth. So what are some of the things that you do now to kind of continuously grow as an illustrator?
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned earlier that I really like to push myself by just I try to find something that I'm really passionate about that will excite me, so outside of work I like to draw a lot of characters. I love stories and movies. I think those are like one of the things that inspires me most. And so in Figma I like to I'm not new to Figma, but new to maybe illustrating in Figma. And just in the past couple of years, I started in Adobe Illustrator and then moved over to Figma for website design. And then once I joined Unfolds, learning to illustrate in that space there's still always stuff that I'm learning. So I still love to just practice my skills in drawing and seeing what I can do. And so I like to draw a lot of characters again, and pushing the limits of like how that style can transform in Figma, if that makes sense. I use a lot of different lighting techniques and just seeing how far I can go, basically. So that's what I do a lot in my free time, just drawing and just practicing, doing a lot
Yeah.
of like I like scrolling through Instagram and Pinterest just to get like inspired. And I know that there's a lot of really talented people in the space that post tutorials and post their files for availability to see how they do it. So I love learning from other people too. I think that's really helpful.
I love that. You are one of the most talented people. I mean, everybody on the team is extremely talented, but the work that you do is inspirational, and I love that we have a strong, representation of illustration, who's like bubbly and creative and thinks outside of the box and is able to adapt to different styles and also share in a very easy and to understand way. One question that I have for you is, if somebody is looking to start to learn how to illustrate, what is the first thing that you would recommend that they do? And then like what is a challenge that maybe they could challenge themselves for the next 30 days?
Yeah. Okay. So, that's a really good question. So one of the things that I started doing when I was trying to get really comfortable illustrating was doing I think I started doing like a daily logo challenge and just illustrating, but actually I was going to call our team at Unfold we do it like every other day, a daily illustration challenge where we take a prompt and for us, we try to do a drawing in 15 minutes. But for you, if you're just trying to get started, I would just recommend just drawing just every day as much as you can. Just every day, try to sit down and draw something. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. It doesn't have to be anything super thorough. Just again, we've talked a lot about drawing from references, but I think honestly, practice. It's just invaluable. Again, it doesn't even have to be digitally. I think drawing on a piece of paper in a notebook, maybe moving into an application like Procreate if you can, just getting used to actually putting an idea that's in your head out visually on a piece of paper is just so helpful. And the more you do it, the more you're going to learn how to draw in general. And then you can transfer those skills over, or even starting in an application like Illustrator or Figma. Again, I just think drawing, things from around you, it's just invaluable. And two, I know when I started discovering a lot of illustrators that I liked, and especially finding people that put out tutorials of how they do things, even if it's just those like 15-second time lapses of like, here's how I draw. Seeing other people's processes can help you establish your own and figure out how to put your own spin on it, finding your own style. Again, all that stuff. Study the people around you, study the objects around you, get started.
Yeah. Well, I can share a fun fact. The first drawing I ever did was the cats from Aristocrats. Do you know that movie?
Yes, Aristocats. Yeah.
Aristocats. I loved it. It was so much fun. So I did that when I was younger because I've always wanted to be in like the creative field. So I started, I tried to draw, but obviously with practice, like you're not going to get better. So it's a muscle that I kind of stopped like practicing, so I'm not as good at it anymore. But then I also drew because I wanted to get into fashion, so then I was drawing like outfits and stuff, so that was really fun. I do think that drawing is the basic. It's kind of like gymnastics. Like, how gymnastics is the foundation of all sport. Drawing is the foundation of a lot of the creative outlets out there, whether you're a photographer, product designer, illustrator, movie producer. You still have to sketch out scenes. You still have to sketch out wireframes. You still have to learn how to communicate via drawing. So I definitely think that it is a creative, like it is something that you have to practice and kind of learn. So I love that. I love that I had that background a little bit. But what
Yeah.
was your first illustration
Oh
growing up?
man. Growing up, I do vividly remember there was one time I won a contest. I think I was in elementary school, like maybe first grade. I won a contest because I drew a picture of Santa and they liked it, and I got to go see Santa at the like Christmas place somewhere around here. I don't remember where, but I was just so excited because Santa picked my picture,
I love
and it was like the
that.
best day ever. It was so fun.
Oh. All right,
But too, to touch
Courtney.
on what you one oh
Oh,
sorry, I
go
was
ahead.
just gonna say
No,
one more thing. No,
absolutely. Go ahead.
not to drag you guys on. Sorry, I know we're a little over. I was just gonna
No.
say, even you're talking about being the basis of so many creative fields too. I feel like illustration, there's so many different types of design within illustration. For example, we work at an agency where we're working with a lot of clients. We're establishing illustration styles for them to use mostly in like a marketing purpose, or drawing for websites. And then there's also like illustrative fields, like there's book illustration. There's just so many different facets within illustration itself that I feel like if you're interested in something, you can definitely find your own little pocket to work in. There's just so many different fields. So I just want to say, like, don't feel limited if you're wanting, or if you're interested in something like this. There's so many different directions you can go.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Well, if you guys want to learn anything else from Courtney, please leave a comment and we'll take a look at it. And as we prepare for more episodes to come for Tea Time. So with that said, Courtney, I know you do a lot of things outside of Unfold, and I just wanted to ask you, what are some of the things that you're super proud of, or any initiatives that you would like to shout out so that people can kind of
Yeah.
follow you there?
Okay, well, okay, social media, I'm on Instagram and Twitter for now, and I'm on TikTok, but I don't know how to use it. Triple all the things. I have a little like Etsy shop where I sell stickers of more doodly stuff like this. I also am working on some projects with my husband coming up that aren't released yet, but maybe look out for beginning of next year or something soon. So
Yes.
yeah, you can find out more there. I'm at Court Askew on all those.
Nice. I love that. Well, it was a pleasure, such a pleasure hosting you, Courtney. You're amazing. You're fascinating. I love the work that
Oh,
you do. It's super fun talking to you and kind of hearing more about you and your journey. And you're definitely an inspiration. So I would love to have you come back on Tea Time again. So do not be a stranger. With that
okay.
said, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, interact with this video. Let people come over here and join us during Tea Time. We're doing our best to make this into a weekly thing. Next week is Thanksgiving, so we wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And then the week after, we are actually hosting a Q&A with Benton, Yonki, and Alex. And we're going to keep our guests as a surprise for everybody, so make sure that you follow us on Twitter and Instagram, where we will be announcing who our guests are before we go live. For now, I hope you had a great time. Thank you so much, Courtney. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.